Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another video. It's another live video, y'all. This is how I'm gonna keep up the pace. Also, I really like to interact with y'all. So many people have hit me up about Chloe Bailey and all of the ridiculousness that's been going on with her. And honestly, I don't feel like I have anything new or interesting or unique to say about that situation. Obviously, her body is hers. She gets to decide what she wants to do with her body. But what I have not been able to go through yet, because I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, is how I am president of the Chloe and Halle Over 30 fan club, and why I'm president of the Chloe and Halle Over 30 fan club, why they are such exceptional artists that deserve everybody's attention, and how they have spectacularly navigated this pandemic. They've navigated this pandemic and their artistry during a pandemic in a way that far outseeds any other artist. And we're talking huge established names like a Billie Eilish, like a Dua Lipa, like they have nailed it. So I wanted to sit down and lay out the case for why Chloe and Halle are the present and why they're the future. As always, this is going to be a multimedia experience. Oh, so we have some new patrons. I said on the last video that I have these stickers and I'm giving these stickers. I'm great. Thank you so much for asking stickers to the first 100 new patrons. I'm going to literally send them out this weekend. So shout out to y'all. I'm going to brave the post office to get these out. Somebody also said I should turn these into like lapel pins, like those little pins. I love that. Enamel pins are what they're called. Love that idea. Totally going to do that too. So I appreciate all of the new patrons. We're hanging out. Okay. Let's get this started. It's time to share my slides. Share it. Present. Here we go. I've said before that Chloe Bailey is a genius and I don't really care what she does because she's a genius. And so many people have fought me on this. Like, why is she a musical genius? And why do you say that? And you just use the word genius too much. No, by the end of this presentation, by the end of this video, it does feel like a presentation. It does feel like I'm doing a dissertation on this, right? Y'all are going to know how brilliant these girls are and why I am absolutely not being hyperbolic. Now, of course, Halle is brilliant too. Like those notes, the crystal clarity of Halle's tone, dude, a vocalist, okay? And she's about to be a megastar. As soon as The Little Mermaid comes out, Halle is out of here, like truly. But I'll admit, I do have a particular affinity for Chloe as a performer, as a songwriter, as a producer. She has the eye of the tiger, okay? She has that aggression, and I like that. I gravitate to that. So this is going to be a signature Kimberly deep dive, so go ahead and buckle up. So last year, my favorite albums were Rina Sawayama. I love Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia. I loved Harry Styles' album, and I loved this album. But this album holds a particular place in my heart because it's two 20-something Black girls who had so much freaking creative control. We literally have not seen Black girls this age do this like in a long time. It's super, super exciting. So let's first talk about them as artists. It's Chloe and Halle Bailey. Chloe is 22. Halle is 20. They're from Atlanta. They got their start on YouTube posting cover songs as little girls. All right. Let's do it. Hey, it's come on, baby, it's you. Mama said you're a pretty girl. What's in your head? It doesn't matter. I'm feeling drunk and high, so high, so high. All right, so to recap, it's musicianship, it's charisma, it's harmonies, it's the way that they put their unique spins on songs. And by the way, in those videos, those are teenagers, like barely teenagers. It's like Chloe's like 13 to like 15, and Halle is like 11 to like, it's like, y'all, these are literal like little baby geniuses. And so they did the Pretty Hurts cover around 2013, which is when Beyonce's self-titled came out and everybody was, gushing over the fact that Beyonce changed the music industry with that unannounced drop, whatever. And so then that Pretty Hurts cover went viral. And then, of course, Beyonce signed them. Okay, so now they're signed to Parkwood Entertainment. And that, of course, makes sense because Chloe has said over and over that the icon of her life is Beyonce. Like, she looks up to her so much, and we will see that influence come out. Okay, so 2015, they signed to Parkwood, and they signed like, I don't know, a 5 or whatever album deal. I don't really know how the music industry works or whatever. And then they also made a little cameo in Lemonade. Now, if we take a look at this image from Lemonade, it's a little problematic. I see some issues there. Okay. But, okay, to Beyonce's defense, right? Zendaya is now a superstar. Chloe and Halle, now superstars. Amandla Stenberg, love her so much. Ibeyi, is that how you pronounce them? I don't know what happened to them, but I did like that song. That video where they were like underwater, like they were baptizing themselves. I like that video. I don't know what happened to them. But anyways, there's some colorism problems here. But moving on. Then they released their first EP in 2016. It's called Sugar Symphony. So I just want to underscore here, Chloe born in 1998, Halle born in 2000. So in 2016, we're talking about young girls, right? Okay. So let's go. Oh, okay. So Sugar Symphony was cool. Sugar Symphony actually reminds me a lot, if you listen to it, it reminds me of Janelle Monáe. It's kind of like that kind of fun, quirky, danceable, alternative R&B, like electronic R&B music. Super, super good. But what is notable about those EPs, even the early EPs, is how hands-on they were. Chloe and Halle were writing those songs. Chloe was producing those songs, right? Incredible. So I started to really get into them around the second EP, which is The Two of Us, and this is from 2017. So even in The Two of Us, we can see so much growth between Sugar Symphony from 2016 and The Two of Us in 2017. It's so layered, this EP. The harmonies are gorgeous. Chloe at this time is 19 years old. She produced the entire album. There is one song that I think is so freaking good, and I'm just going to play a little bit of it. The YouTube guys, like, they will snatch your stuff down for copyright. So all of these are just going to be little clips, like little snippets. Okay, that song, honestly, again, we can only do a little snippet because YouTube will demonetize your girl, but so good. And yes, people are pointing out that in the cover art for The Two of Us, Halle is wearing a mermaid tail. And of course, she's going to star in The Little Mermaid. I'm not necessarily a manifestation girl, but I certainly, things aligned, okay? Things aligned in their favor. But again, go back and listen to The Two of Us. It's actually super, super good. Then from there, we get into, next slide. Then we get into The Kids Are All Right, their first album. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of slept on The Kids Are All Right. I had to go back and do some research in order to prepare for this video. I went back and listened to The Kids Are All Right. That is a great album. No, it's not just good, you guys. It is a great album. And then you consider, again, how hands-on they were in writing so much of that album, how hands-on Chloe was in particular in producing so much of that album. Bops on bops on bops. Okay, let's play this. Okay.
Working ain't no 9 to 5. California, that's a vibe. Brings us always down to ride. You know that's a lie. but I'ma throw you back into the galaxy. I'ma throw you back into the galaxy. Oh, this way too much for me. Oh, it's too much. Oh, this way too much for me. Oh, it's too much. Giving me anxiety. Yeah, it's too much. Oh, this way too much for me. Babe. No, I can't lie, I make mistakes, but I know I'm gonna be okay. Got the weight of the world on me. And darling, when you smile, it's like the rain dries out.
All right, you guys, so freaking good. So the jams on The Kids Are All Right. Cool People in the World. Beautiful song. Again, written by Chloe and Halle, produced by Chloe. Galaxy, written by Chloe and Halle, produced completely Chloe by herself. The Kids Are All Right. So freaking good. Like there's just like bops on bops on bops, jams on jams on jams. Like truly, Grown, which is the theme song for Grownish. When I used to watch Grownish, but now I'm like, oh, it's a little weird for me to watch. Like I'm fully in my 30s, I can't watch Grownish anymore. But a few years ago, Kimberly in her late 20s was out here singing Watch Out World, I'm Grown Now, like I wasn't in my late 20s. Like so good. And there's so much growth between the two of us and The Kids All Right. Like now on The Kids Are All Right, we're seeing the song structures become much more formalized, more traditional song structures. We have catchy hooks, we have pre-choruses, again, gorgeous harmonies, so layered. But also what I like about Chloe and Halle's music so much is it's still a little odd. It's a little off, right? So we can see them kind of trying to turn a corner, right, to become more accessible, you know, to broader audiences, but it's still a little off the beaten path. I freaking love that so much. Chloe loves an eerie chord. Chloe loves a minor chord, right? Something that's just a little dark. Freaking love it. And that the operatic part of their vocals, right? The fact that they can go from doing kind of really traditional poppy vocals to doing that beautiful, like falsetto, like operatic stuff. Who else do you know who can do that? I know somebody who can do that, and her name starts with a B and it ends with a Beyonce. Okay. So again, so The Kids Are All Right is they're turning a corner. Now, I will say I wasn't all the way into it because I did feel like, I mean, you know, I was in my late 20s and I just felt like maybe it just wasn't for me. But I do remember that performance, seeing that performance of Down and being like, oh, okay, this is something else. This is something different. I do remember seeing that. And I am now, you know, that I went back and revisited it, like kicking myself for not evangelizing more. Okay. So songwriting, production, visuals, we've stepped it up, okay? We stepped it up. They're laying the foundation, okay? So now when I really, really became invested in Chloe and Halle, let me get back to my stand PowerPoint, okay? It's in 2019. They came out with the song called, Who Knew? This is my jam.
You would say things, wouldn't listen, but I listen now. You would call me, started falling, cause it's different now.
Okay, again, we can only do little snippets because YouTube will snatch my shit down or just take the money from this video, okay? I'm just giving you a little taste. I'm encouraging you to do your own research, do your own digging. Who knew? Gorgeous song. Halle sings the lead. I mean, Chloe sings the leads on all of this song, and she is giving us rasp. She's giving us depth. The lower part of her register is so freaking gorgeous. And you know who Chloe is really sounding like on Who Knew? Beyonce. That's Beyonce. Like the tones that she's giving us on Who Knew? Beyonce. Also, watch the Who Knew video, giving us looks, giving us glamour, sensuality. This is how we see Chloe and Halle really bridging the kids all right, which is okay, like we're young, we're teenagers, into okay, we're becoming adults now and we're sexy and we have bodies and we're just gonna look sexy in our bodycon dresses and lay on the ground and pose for y'all and give y'all makeup and give y'all hair, right? So we see, right? They're crossing the bridge into adult artistry, which is hard. It's hard. So many artists get caught up. You know something I'm thinking about? This is just random. Actually, let me not go down this random thing, but I do think about how was somebody like a JoJo Siwa going to cross the bridge into adulthood? But anyways, that's another video. Okay. So still so good. Now that takes, this takes us to next, Ungodly Hour. Ungodly Hour released in June of 2020. It was pushed back a week because of the George Floyd protests across the country, which I appreciate. These girls are deeply in tune with what is happening in the world, but also they really understand. They're reading the room, okay? Don't nobody want to listen to your album, right, when we're out in the streets. They pushed it back. Ungodly Hour, with the exception of one song, Ungodly Hour is a masterpiece. It is so good. And Chloe has talked about how, Beyonc is not just the head of the label, right? She really mentors them. And she talked about being so nervous to present this album to Beyonc. And we know how finicky, in particular, Beyonc is about craft, right? And she talks about them presenting the album to Beyonc and Beyonc having no notes. No notes. Y'all remember Homecoming, where she was like, until my notes are applied, I don't need to make no more notes, right? Like, you guys, okay. So let's keep it moving.
Yeah, that's just how we do it. You like it what I do. I've been going through
Okay. So Do It came out in May, right? And I literally remember, because the pandemic had started, and I remember like seeing the YouTube premiere of it and being like, oh, this is it. This is it. Like, they've broken through, because Do It is it's the perfect song. It's just mainstream enough. It has a great hook, co-written by another love of my life, Victoria Monet. Okay, check out Jaguar, Victoria Monet, a genius. Also, Moment, not me going off on another tangent, but Moment by Victoria Monet did not get what it deserved. That is an exceptional R&B song from last year, but she's pregnant now, so she couldn't promote it the way that she should have. So anyways, Do It, incredible pop R&B song, co-written by Victoria Monet and Halle, Chloe and Halle, produced by Scott Storch, just good in their lane. And then the video, the looks in that video, the choreography, how much fun they were having in that video. And I don't know if that video was done in the pandemic or whatever. Still, so good. The costuming, the freaking clothes in that video, that was for real, when it was like, oh, these girls are grown, but also like they're giving us looks and they're giving us hits. Kimberly loves a hit, and Do It should have been a bigger hit. I don't know what's wrong with y'all, but it was a great song. And then we got Forgive Me, which is again a little darker. And that's when they're saying the F word, like, love it so much. Now I think that is a pandemic video. It does seem like they're just kind of trying to make it work in the Forgive Me video, but I don't care. It still looked great. Like sexy girls giving us dance moves, giving us like, fuck you. Freaking love it. I feel like Jill Scott. Freaking love it. Okay. So they're still doing that kind of pop and B, but like to the left. It's not straight down the middle, right? So they are still embodying that thing that makes them special, which is brilliant harmonies, right? Layered, lush vocals. Listen to the backgrounds on Do It. Okay. And it doesn't feel like they were selling out. I think that with Ungodly Hour, it was really intentional that they were going to try to make things that would appeal to more people. But it doesn't feel like they are betraying themselves. I definitely feel, especially when you listen to the album, I feel like we are getting to know them a little bit more. It's just the lyrics are more accessible. My goodness. And I love that. And this is the beauty of artist development, you guys. The beauty of artist development is they got enough time to figure out what exactly they want it to be. So they're not just being pushed out and rushed out, right? And like trying to snap out some hits or whatever. We really see, you know, especially if you have studied this as closely as I have over the past couple of days, a slow buildup, a very natural evolution of where these women are going artistically. It is amazing to see, and got to give it to Chloe and Halle, right? Because that kind of growth requires a real commitment to craft, but also we got to give it to Parkwood. Right? Like Parkwood giving them the space to feel things out and try things and not try to just get hits or whatever. And this is where having somebody like a Beyonce as your mentor really comes in handy. Because if there's something that Beyonce understands, it is the value of artist development. Okay, she has shown us over and over again that Matthew had them girls in the backyard, you know, in the bayou, in the swamp of Houston, running and doing laps and singing and performing for whoever. Let me plug in my laptop before we go dark. But yes, okay, I absolutely think that like this is what you're supposed to do. Like if you're a seasoned artist like Beyonce, be very strategic, be very discerning about who you're going to take under your wing. And then when you do, give them all of the space that they need. Give them everything that they need to thrive. I do feel like that's where a lot of these artist / manager or artist / label head relationships go wrong, because that nurturing, that guidance is not there. So honestly, shout out to Parkwood. We already were going to shout out Parkwood because they've already done some amazing stuff. Okay. So they gave us hard cuss words, but also the other brilliant thing about Ungodly Hour is Chloe and Halle are different, right? They have different personalities. They have different ways of approaching performances, and they have different kinds of voices. And their voices complement each other so brilliantly, so beautiful. So Halle has that very angelic, like literal kind of Disney princess lightness in her voice. It's clarity in her voice. And Chloe has that huskiness. It's darker, right? It is more aggressive, and they complement each other so beautifully. So there are songs on Ungodly Hour where it really comes to light. I'm thinking of I Wonder What She Thinks of Me. I'm thinking of what's the other Don't Make It Harder on Me, right? Where like those contrasts in their voices are so at the forefront. All right, we're gonna stop sharing the screen so I can just go in on why Ungodly Hour is so great to me. Okay, so this is their Grown and Sexy debut, and they're very intentional about having this be their Grown and Sexy debut, but it never feels to me like they're trying too hard. And I think a part of that is because the songs on Ungodly Hour are not just about getting men and going to the club and we grown now. A lot of it is about introspection. Like a song like Baby Girl is literally about trying to navigate the transition into going from young Black girl to young Black woman. The little interlude, the overwhelmed interlude is, literally about, oh, this shit is hard. Who can relate? I can. A song like Lonely, which is literally about really being content, right? Like being your own companionship. I like the balance between the poppy, fun bops, right? An Ungodly Hour, which is produced by Disclosure, and the other side of them, which is much more like vulnerable and intimate. And I say all the time that is what I want for Black women. That's what I want for Black women entertainers. My issue is not with Black women entertainers being sexy. That is not my issue at all, right? Some of us want to be sexy. We want to have sex. We want to wear lingerie and have our booties out or whatever. My issue has always been that we only get the opportunity in creative output to be celebrated if we're just being sexy. Like, we don't get the space to say, I'm hurt, I'm tired, I'm lonely, these niggas ain't shit, I want to be sexy today. We are multidimensional beings and creatures. And so I just love what I love to see, okay, is how Chloe and Halle at 22 and 20 are carving out that space for themselves. So yeah, their public images are pretty sexy. And I do have some thoughts on that I'll get to later. But I definitely think that when you dig beneath the surface, you see that these girls are gonna do it all. They're gonna be everything. And like, it just makes me feel so good. You know, I've talked before about the fact that I love Brandy. I was a big Brandy stan. And one of the reasons why I was able to be a big Brandy stan when I was younger is because she presented in public as like perfect and Disney girl and America's sweetheart and everybody loves her and she never does anything wrong, but that's not real. And Brandy has talked about the psychological effects of trying to pretend in public to be picture perfect Disney America's sweetheart. We do need to be fighting for Black girls and Black women, entertainers, and everybody, everywhere, in any space, to be complicated and make mistakes and do things that maybe people will raise an eyebrow at, right? And especially when we're talking about artistry, I think good artistry comes from having that freedom, you know? And so it does feel good to see these girls who have been in the public eye for a long time just feel it out and like navigate those dynamics like so astutely. I'm in love. I'm in love. And, you know, it does annoy me that Ungodly Hour, the album and the song, because the Ungodly Hour song is so good, it does annoy me that it wasn't a bigger hit. But, you know, something I've been thinking about is, well, like, what even is a hit, right? Like, how much does a hit even really matter? So we all know I'm a slave for you. Britney's I'm a slave for you, right? I'm a slave for you was not a hit, but that video, iconic. Those performances, iconic. Like, nobody will ever forget the snake. Nobody will ever forget the green VMA outfit. Nobody will ever forget those dance moves. Get it, right? Like that video, right? Like, I'm a slave for you. I don't know. I think when I looked it up, it topped at 27 on the Billboard charts. Right. So there are things that are more important than just having a number one hit. And I do think that Chloe and Halle understand that. And where might they have learned that from? Beyonce. Because, you know, Beyonce hasn't really had a hit in a long time. All right. So more mainstream, maybe not necessarily appealing to the widest audience, but still so good. I've talked about Baby Girl. I've talked about Lonely. Just showing off the vocals. I wonder what she thinks of me. The climax of I wonder what she thinks of me. Okay, but still weird. And I do feel like what we are witnessing with Chloe and Halle is when magic meets the right moment. This is absolutely their moment. All right, so we're gonna go back to my PowerPoint because now we're gonna talk about really how they won the pandemic, and that is with their public performances, with the live performances. Okay. Next. Oh, I meant to underscore that these girls are not just puppets. They are intimately connected to the creation of all of this work. They're not just being given songs. They are co-writing every single song. They are producing. Chloe is co-producing or producing singularly most of these songs. Like, it's like, it's next level, okay? Who else, honestly, truly Truly. Name somebody else who's doing this. Like, please. As visible as these girls are, like who's doing this? Please, I dare you. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on. All right. So this is my medley of their best live performances since the pandemic started. I don't even want to talk about how much time I put into putting this together, you guys, but just watch. It's like 3 minutes long. So y'all just sit back.
Yeah, I'm in my face. Moving fast cause I move on the way. Make sure you can't see no delays. That we secure like the money in a safe. I look like babe, now I'm on the way. I don't have the time to teach you how to love all over again. Now let me ask you this. Are you giving all that you could give? Cause once you get it right, baby, just know.
Tell me what you think this is. Why you wanna plead the fifth? You ain't gotta tell me what it is. Cause I saw the messages. You must got me fucked up. You must got me fucked up. I think I had enough. So forgive me.
One day I'm talking to Jesus. All the sights I've seen. All the sights I've seen. I need you to stop looking at me like that. We are just friends now. You already had your chance. So I need you to stop saying it. A busy boy, busy boy, I'm sure. Busy boy, yeah, busy boy, yeah. Yeah. Take you to the afterlife. Boy, if you ain't acting right, key your car and crash the lights. Hit your head, I'm not polite. Then I hunt down your family. Let them know about the tragedy. Who did it? A mystery. But you know that it was me, yeah. Ooh, 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 that's just what I do. Ooh, ooh, and that's just how we do it. You like it, what I do. Ooh, ooh, know how to keep it cool.
Hey, won't you come on my way now? Hey, won't you get on my thing? Won't you get on my way? Won't you get on my way now?
You ain't gotta let the world get to you. Why you looking in the mirror like that? Good boy, you stay wasting time. No, you never try. You said this for life, but you know you lied. Get you every time like la 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 la. I'm just with the crew. We out here looking for booze. Cause some nights be better with you. It's a homies only kind of mood. And tonight we are 100.
Whew. You guys, that's so good. I've learned from the young people, from the Gen Zers, that that's called a fan cam. Okay, I just made a fan cam, but I'm obsessed with this. So there's so much stuff for us to talk about here. I saw somebody in the comments say that every young Black woman doesn't need to be compared to Beyonce. I agree. I think we have done several young Black women performers, namely Normani, a huge disservice by comparing them to Beyonce. But Chloe has explicitly said that Beyonce is the icon of her life, and Chloe does things that are so explicitly and clearly the fruit off Beyonce's tree. I think to not acknowledge the continuation of Beyonce's legacy here is wrong. Like, as a cultural critic, as a commentator, I would really just be doing malpractice if I didn't acknowledge that so much of this is Beyonce. Even look in those performances, the way that Chloe attacks performances, the way that sometimes when she is performing, it's like she's attacking the camp. That's Beyonce stuff, y'all. Like, I don't know what else to tell y'all. It's Beyonce, the stuff that they do with their voices on what is it? Busy Boy at the end. Halle sounds exactly like young Beyonce. Like, I I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just so clear. So what we saw from those performances, it is exceptional artistry. Okay. We're getting charisma, we're getting showmanship, we're getting stage presence, but we're getting attention to detail. Look at the set design, look at the costumes, look at the makeup, look at the jewelry, look at the way that it all comes together. Even look at the different kinds of feels, like the aesthetics, right? Sometimes the camera is a little grainy, and sometimes it's crystal clear, and sometimes we're getting a retro aesthetic. Look at the details of how perfectly tailored those in that Don't Make It Harder on Me performance with that green latex. The tailoring on that. Okay. And they have acknowledged so many times that they work with a creative director named Alex Makadzi. Alex needs to be winning some awards. Alex needs to be winning some awards. And also what's exceptional about so many of these performances, obviously we're in a pandemic, right? So much of this stuff, they are having to create these sound stages, create these sets on their tennis court in the back of their house, right? The kind of innovation. And that is why, obviously, it sucks to be in a pandemic, right? Like, it sucks to be immobile. We have to innovate and create and like just, think on the fly and all of that. But truly, when you are put into a corner the way that the pandemic has boxed so many of us into a corner, it does force you to try new things, to like elevate yourself. I feel that way. I feel like I have challenged myself to do and be better in this pandemic, because what else are you going to do? And so they are doing this, right? Young women who don't have the budget of a Dua, they don't have the budget of a Billie Eilish, but still they have executed better than anybody. That stuff, those performances are the best performances of the pandemic. Consistently, right? And they were cranking those out one after another, multiple different kinds of performances, different arrangements, right? Trying new stuff all the time. The amount of work that takes, you guys, what I'm trying to say is I find this to be very, very inspiring. Like, it makes me excited because I'm excited to see young Black girls operating in their area of genius, like operating on that level. But it honestly also makes me inspired as somebody who makes things. It's so good. And yeah, somebody said they made an album, absolutely. So when I talked about, I don't love that they didn't have hits on this album, but it's okay because Ungodly Hour as a body of work is going to sustain. People are going to look back at those performances. I think my favorite performance from that little bunch was their VMA performance of Ungodly Hour. People are going to look back on those performances and like the way that we look back on classic performances in 10 years and 20 years. And also another thing that makes me excited is who is looking up to these girls, right? The way that Chloe would look up to a Beyonce or whatever, like they're also inspiring another generation of Black girls, of girls of color, to be like, oh, okay, that's what excellence looks like. Let's execute there. But then the other thing is, that's a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old, you guys. These are young women. They literally are just starting their careers. They're just starting their creative paths. And so then the other thing that makes me excited is like, what is next? Okay. What is next? Yes. And so somebody said the live performances made me love the album more. Absolutely. They have really mastered the art of creating live experiences that build upon what was done in the studio. And that just takes a certain level of musicality. Forgive me and do it. The performances got better and better. Okay, so they are delivering the best executed performances, but they also won the pandemic for me because of the way that they have been able to navigate social media during the pandemic. So they do this thing called Tea Time, where they go on their Instagram pages. When they had one, they would just hop on their Instagram page and then talk to fans. And now they hop on their Instagrams and talk to each other. And that also to me feels different. It feels so. Chloe and Halle are a part of a legacy of young Black women artists who are making their names, but they are very clearly Gen Z, and the way that they are using social media so naturally, so effortlessly, it doesn't feel like they're afraid of it. It feels really, really organic, and in seeing them do those tea times and seeing them do the Instagrams with each other and have their own Instagrams now and post, it really just feels like they're being real and they're just trying to give us more intimate glimpses into who they are. Did y'all see? I almost want to pull this up. Did y'all see Halle do that little TikTok where she was like cussing? It's so interesting to me that on stage, Chloe and Halle have certain kind of personalities, and then off stage, like the personalities are kind of swapped. I just love them. Okay. So I tweeted, I don't know, some weeks ago, I tweeted, oh my gosh, like Halle is getting ready to cut loose. Like she's getting ready. I said cut loose, but people were like, you're saying that you want them to break up. And I was like, no, what I meant was by cut loose, I'm saying Chloe was getting ready to cut loose. Like I tweeted that and people got mad at me. But what I meant was Chloe deeply desires to tap into the womanly part of herself, the sexual, sensual part of herself. And we were at that time, before she got her own Instagram, we were on the precipice of seeing that. She was giving us little glimpses. And now that she's gotten her own Instagram, she is completely let it go. Okay. for better or for worse, completely let it go. And I have no problem with that. I will say, something I do have to talk about because I'm me is I love people growing into their sexuality and loving their bodies. But something I have a complicated relationship to is it's not lost on me that often crossing over, right, trying to become more mainstream or transitioning into adulthood means getting more explicitly sexual if you are a girl or a woman. And I think that that's natural. Like, I don't want to demonize that. I do think that period of figuring out like what is sexy and am I sexy and do you like it like this? Like that's a part of it. Like we've all had our moments. Like literally, I look back on some of the things that I wore for Halloween when I was a freshman, sophomore in college, when it literally was lingerie. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, Kimberly, why were you wearing lingerie out in the cold in Boston? Like it didn't, but because I was trying to be sexy, like I wanted to be, I was trying to be like, oh, I'm sexy Kim now, right? And so that's, what's happening, particularly with Chloe and Halle now. So I think it's not useful for us to shame them for it. They're testing boundaries. But Auntie Kim. Okay. Something I do think it's useful for us to be, I don't know, just cognizant of is that, don't take this the wrong way. The easiest way to get attention, and I've said this elsewhere, the easiest way to get attention and praise and positive affirmation is by performing a certain kind of sexuality on the internet. We all know this. We have seen it, right? And so attention, no matter how you get it, is addictive. So I hope that Chloe will continue to live in her body and love her body and express her sexuality in exactly the way that she wants to and in the way that makes her feel good and is comfortable. But this just reminds me of, a couple of days ago, I was in a room on Clubhouse. Let's not even get into Clubhouse. Okay, let's not talk about Clubhouse. But there was a doctor on Clubhouse talking about how these apps make us addicted to the dopamine hits that we get when we see people like and scroll and comment and talk about us. And that pleasure is insatiable. And so often we can unknowingly, again, I'm not projecting anything onto Chloe. I don't know what she's going through. I'm just talking generally, high level here. We can get caught in the cycle of chasing those dopamine hits that we get from getting attention on social media. So That's Auntie Kim. Okay, that's my little cautionary thing out there. But also when you are so deeply in tuned to the conversation about what you are presenting on social media, I also think that it is easy to get deeply hurt when the reaction is not exactly what you would want it to be. And so actually, let's just go ahead and show the video of Chloe talking about some of the reaction that she got. Oops.
Me when I can finally get to a place where
Start over.
To me when I can finally get to a place where I share who I really am. And I've been like really insecure for a long time. And I'm finally like at that place where I have self-confidence. I'm not gonna cry. And I'm really happy that I get to share that with you all.
Chloe Bailey got emotional on Instagram Sunday.
Okay, that's enough of that. So I believe that Chloe is and will be a multifaceted, multidimensional woman that, this is just, the time when she is, she said she felt insecure in her body and bad about her stretch marks and all of that. And this is where she's testing the boundaries and seeing what works and whatever. And, she just likes to be, it's okay to like to be sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to like to be sexy. I think it's also okay to desire attention. I think that sometimes we as women, and as Black women in particular, unwittingly get boxed into certain stuff, but it's okay. I just want to make sure that we are always giving people space to, if you want to step out of that, I love you just as much if you step out of that. I will support you and celebrate you and play your music just as much if you choose to step out of that. That's all I'm trying to say. So Drake followed her after the Busted challenge. Drake is Drake. The older generation should be happy we have the liberation we have now. I'm happy. I guess I'm the older generation in this scenario. I'm happy. I'm not sure that all of the things that people are calling liberation are liberation. That's where I stand on that. But I am happy that the people who do have access to doing lots of different things do have access to that. Sometimes I think that we're calling stuff liberation that's not actually liberation. Okay. She's a little old for Drake. So anyways, you guys, that was the PowerPoint that took way too long for me to make about why Chloe and Halle are the present and the future. I do love to see them having fun. I do feel like we are, for the first time, seeing a generation of girls who just have access to be freer and have more fun. And what this also makes me think of is, not to bring up Beyonce again, but to bring up Beyonce again, is there was a time when Beyonce was real loose in interviews, where she would just say whatever and be fun and be quirky and not be so scripted, like back in the day, in the late 90s, early 2000s, like Beyonce was accessible and playful in public. She has retreated from that because she understands that there are enormous consequences to veering outside of the expected deliverance, right? If you're a Black woman. What I hope that we're not seeing right now is this backlash and whatever is happening around Chloe and Halle. I hope that they don't have to do the very understandable thing that Beyonce has done to protect herself, to shield herself, right? So I've seen people say, oh, Beyonce is robotic and what, and it's like, this lady is just trying to live, right? I'm sure it's really difficult to navigate being one of the most famous, powerful Black women in the world and having people just waiting for you to trip up, to say something so they can cancel you. Anyways, That's all I got, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. Sign up for the Patreon. I'm literally mailing out these stickers this weekend. I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. Sign up for the email newsletter. Buy some merch. This was fun. Wasn't this fun? Did you guys have a good time? Listen to Ungodly Hour. Honestly, just go on YouTube and have a good old-fashioned, like, Chloe and Halle binge, because they're it, okay? And you want to be able to tell your kids when they ask you, like, were you around when this was happening? You were. I was. I'm not having kids, but you know. That's it.